Hello, everybody. My name is Ryan McNeil. This is the Builder by Day podcast. Today, we are recording on site at the QE2 Lottery Home. And my guest today is going to be Derek Taylor from Taylor Flooring. So maybe for anyone that's listening that doesn't know you, just like they have no idea who I am, maybe just give us a bit on, from a professional perspective, who you are and what you're all about.
Yeah. As you said, Derek Taylor with Taylor Flooring. Been in the flooring business my whole career. Right from when I was a teenager working in the warehouse at Taylor Flooring to out in the field, driving the truck, went to St. Mary's, graduated, and I didn't think I wanted to be a flooring salesman, but my uncle convinced me to give it 6 months, come work for him, and this year has been 20 years I've been in sales.
Okay, so you've been doing that almost pretty much the same length of time that I've been building homes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think many people could say this, but I've only ever worked for one company. My whole
life, yeah.
My whole life, yeah. So
I can't say that. I've only ever worked for one company as an adult. I shouldn't say that. After we both went to St. Mary's, although we didn't know one another at the time.
That's right. When did you graduate from there?
I think it was 2003.
Okay, I was 04.
Yeah.
So I was a year behind you.
Right, but you're a few years younger than me, but I had the 2-year hiatus where I went to golf school in Arizona. So
yes.
my 4-year business degree was 6 because I 2 years in the middle.
That was right in the middle. Okay. Yeah. I knew you went to golf school. I didn't know when that was.
Yeah, I went year 1 to St. Mary's and then 2 years down in Arizona and then back and then finished my business degree.
Yeah. Cool.
So when you started in the flooring business, when you started 20 years ago, you weren't selling, what were you doing?
Well, 20 years ago I did. I started in sales on the retail floor.
Okay.
So serving, clients as they come in the door, showing them, around the showroom. And basically that's where everyone kind of starts, is on the retail floor. I, developed as I went, met contractors, met some builders, built that side of the business, made some good relationships. And as that grew, I more moved away from the retail and focused on, it's still residential, but more new home construction. I do a fair amount of insurance work, restoration contractors, and that's the division I have now with my team. We service new home construction, restoration contractors, and it's been 20 years, but it's gone well.
So what percentage of obviously we know one another from the new construction side of things. So I'll give anyone listening a bit of a background. So you and I met probably, what would you say, 12 years ago? Maybe?
I'm driving here. I figured 12 to 13 years. Yeah,
that's right. It wasn't when I first started my business, and we met through the business. So we met through a mutual friend who's also in the industry.
Home builder, yeah.
Yeah. And basically we just started doing business together.
Yeah.
And from there, since then, we still do business together. So you are one of my longest running trades people or suppliers. But of course, we've become golf buddies and we have mutual friends now and we socialize outside of the work environment.
Absolutely.
Which is rare for me.
Yes, I know that.
Right? That's rare for me. I don't do that with many of the people that I work with in the industry. I don't do that with many of my employees, although there have been a few I've become friends with over the years. But to me, that just speaks to the fact that, we're both doing what the other one is expecting of us from a business perspective.
Yeah.
And you can do that with someone if you don't blur the lines. If we have an issue, it's always dealt with professionally.
Absolutely.
It's not like I call you or you call me and say, "Hey, buddy, can you bend the rules for me in this case because we're pals," right?
I think it's actually remarkable the amount of time we've done business together, and I not much different than you. I've met lots of good people, made some friendships through, business and all of that. But I would say, you and I have become, almost more friends than, and we do a good job of keeping that separate. So I do think it's remarkable though that we haven't had. It is construction. There's always situations or areas that you could get a little heated, but that's really never happened with us. And I've said this to many people. One of the things about you that I appreciate the most is you really see the business from both sides. You see it from a supplier's perspective. You understand that we're a business as well. And I think we always find a good solution or common ground, even though there's rarely situations that come up.
Yeah, sure. I mean, the construction business is nothing but a constant, ongoing problem. Right?
Yes.
You're just constantly.
That's right.
I mean, we give you a hard time when we're trying to play golf and you're on the phone all day trying to put out fires. But that's the industry we're in.
That's right.
Constantly, the target's moving all the time. We're just constantly trying to
absolutely
fix it.
Yeah, right? It is. And that's one thing, at Taylor Flooring, when we meet new clients or talk to people, we never say, oh, everything's going to go perfect. You're not going to have any issues. We tell you there's going to be issues. Things come up. We're going to have problems, but we're there to solve them. We're not hiding. We face them head on, and we try to give you that peace of mind.
Right.
Yep.
It would be the same thing for us from a builder's perspective.
Sure.
We run into issues every day.
Yeah.
The clients wouldn't necessarily be aware of them. They're not issues that linger beyond, once it's corrected, it's corrected.
Yeah.
But we deal with it all the time.
That's right.
Because we're dealing with huge swings in personalities. We're dealing with multiple companies. It's not an easy business to be in. So for you, being in the flooring business, if you've been doing it for 20 years, I look at it the same way as myself as a builder. It's been 19 years now, in 3 months' time. That takes some doing.
Oh, for sure.
Stay there, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
One thing that I value about our relationship, and this has happened a number of times, when I've been in situations, anything really with, another client, another builder, or something that may be a little bit, I'm not sure, am I in the wrong here? Like,
sure.
I can bounce things off you, and,
sure.
and you always give me the straight answer.
From the builder's perspective.
From the builder's
perhaps.
perspective.
Yeah,
and
right.
you've said to me, I get the builder here, maybe, or you know what? No, you're
sure.
right in what you're saying here. So I like that. I really value your input on those situations.
Yes, I appreciate that. And I generally will, and that's not just you. I've had other tradespeople and suppliers contact me, perhaps not as frequently as you do, because we're friends.
Yeah.
Right. So, we've built some trust there. We know we can trust one another's opinion.
Exactly.
I would do the same thing with you if it were not related to business. I still might seek your advice on something.
Sure.
Hey, man, what do you think about this?
Yeah.
Well, that's good. I'm glad that that's the case. And certainly I don't always side with the builder. There's times where
100%.
I'd say of the times you call me and ask me for some insight, what do you think? It's probably pretty 50-50. A lot of times I might say, you know what, if I were you, I wouldn't be backing down on that. That's not your problem.
No, that's right. That's right.
Because if I put myself in that situation, in that scenario, if I wouldn't expect you to go good for it, let's say, then I don't think any builder should. And sometimes it's, you could have a client in the mix.
Yeah.
There's other things that can happen.
Yeah, and for us as a supplier or a partner, when we do get in situations where it's maybe a little bit of a gray area, I don't like to dwell on it. If we say, okay, let's go 50-50, let's split it, let's move on. You've always given me good insight on those types of things.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes sometimes it's just a bad situation.
That's right.
So you're just trying to make the best of a bad situation.
That's right. That's the industry we're in.
That's right.
Yeah.
Your last name is Taylor, and the company you work for is Taylor Flooring. Can you explain to people what the association there is?
Sure. So my uncle started Taylor Flooring in '93. Mm-hmm. It was a small one store retail location. He built it up from there. I started, would have been in the late 90s. I was in high school working there, and then into university. I graduated in 2004. So, I've been there, from the early days and seen it grow. And I believe it was around 2011, my uncle sold the company to a group.
So that was probably roughly about the time.
Yeah, around
maybe
that
a couple
time.
of years before
around
we
that
started
time.
business.
Yeah.
Okay.
To an ownership group, and they have owned it still to this day, and I've stayed on working with them. They're a great company to work for. Mm-hmm. Some good leaders there that I can go to with anything that I need to.
I can say in all honesty that it's, I don't say this to pump your tires. I've told you this before off camera and with no mics in front of us, so I'll say it again. I've dealt with a number of flooring companies and a number of flooring salespeople and project managers. You're the best at what you do. Hands down. You are, man. You're the best at what you do. And the company that you work for, Taylor Flooring, is also, I believe, the best at what you do. I think you guys are the most professional. You have the widest range of selection that I've seen. And the people there, the folks involved in the process, yourself, some others that I know. I don't want to name drop, here, but you know who I'm referring to. Just good people to deal with.
Yes.
And I would imagine that many, if not all, of the builders that deal with you, or renovators, renovation contractors, restoration contractors, they probably all deal with you for the same reason.
Well, yeah.
You take pride in your work and you care about it. That's the difference. We give you a hard time about how much you care about it when we're just trying to play golf here, but you do. You care about it, and it shows. And I respect that. Because in fairness, I'm the same way about my business.
Of course.
You don't want to ignore something only for it to turn into something larger down the road.
Yeah,
right?
I appreciate that. Taylor Flooring has been around since '93, and we want to be the leaders in our market. We want to provide the best service to our clients, and that's something we strive for. It's always a work in progress, but we strive for that. So appreciate you saying that.
So how many locations now? Because I only deal with you at your new location.
So Taylor Flooring has our new location. We moved in January at the Atrium. Brand new showroom, very nice showroom. We also have Taylor Flooring in Bridgewater and Taylor Flooring in Sydney.
Okay.
Yep.
And which is your location? You're considered the main location?
It is. It is. So back in up until January, we had a location in Woodlawn and also one in Halifax at Clayton Park.
Okay.
They've brought all the companies together, built a brand new showroom, and now it's all under one roof. It's turned out very nice.
So you like the new digs?
Really
you guys
like it.
Being there? Yeah.
Really like it. Yeah. Showroom has more offerings, very open, very easy to work with clients. Yes, very, very happy with the new showroom.
So you do obviously not just new construction. You also deal a lot in the restoration business too, right?
Yes.
And renovations and home renovations. How would that business break down for you proportionally if you were to put a percentage on it, roughly?
Sure. So my team, we handle new home construction and restoration. The store in general, or the company, we have a number of salespeople. We do retail. There's a separate division that does commercial. So we cover all flooring. My team, would break down to 60-40 in terms of volume for builders versus restoration.
So 60 being builders?
Builders.
Okay.
Yeah. The restoration business is the average sale or ticket might be quite a bit smaller, but we do a lot of volume. Depending on the year. Last year there was a lot of floods, a lot of flooded basements.
Yeah, sure.
We get hit hard with a lot of claims, a lot of basements. So again, not as big a ticket jobs, but there's more volume of them.
Sure.
Yep.
What is the general? I understand the process on the new home construction side of things. I know how that works. But for anyone that's listening, that's thinking renovations, for instance, what is the process? They need new flooring. I have some specific questions for you. Actually, one that came to mind over the weekend. But what is generally the process when someone walks through the doors at your location?
Good question. So anyone could come in. They would be greeted by a professional sales associate. Asked the right questions and shown products. What we would attempt to do is, try to find products people meet their needs. And then the next step would be, set up a site visit or a measure, go and look at the space and get all that information and work with the client on building a quote and finding the right products and meeting their needs.
So is that a salesperson that's doing the site visit, or is that an installer?
It depends. That's a good question. It depends. If it's something that's quite complex, maybe a very large reno with, custom showers, in-floor heat, we may bring a technician or installer with us to help with that. Or if it's more straightforward, a basement for laminate, the salesperson may measure that. And we do have a measure people as well that can run out, and do measures for the salespeople as well. So kind of a mix of all of that.
Okay, makes sense. And on the new construction front, if somebody contacts you looking for, this is not how it happens in our world because of course we pre-plan better than this, but
Sure.
somebody is looking at building a new home and they would like to get that flooring priced. Are they coming to you with plans in hand? Would you like to see the plans before they show up at the door? How would you prefer to do that?
Well, definitely. Most of the new home construction that I would take care of would be with, builders that I already have a relationship with. And basically, they would contact me, schedule an appointment just so, I can make sure I have their plans in advance, prepare, go review them to go over any questions I may have for them. So they come in, we have time blocked aside to ask or answer all the questions they may have about anything to do with flooring. And that we would definitely have the plans and all that in advance.
Okay. The next question would be, just if you look at today's trends, we can perhaps compare this to how things used to be. I mean, you and I have both been in the business long enough now, 20 years, that things have changed significantly.
Big time.
The product that people are buying has changed significantly. In my world, the homes that people are building have changed significantly. And everything is more expensive, but it's also not the same product we used to. It's not the same product we used to build as an industry as a whole. And it's not the same flooring we used to install in the houses.
Absolutely.
So what's a typical, let's talk new construction.
Sure.
Because quite frankly, that's really all I do. Right?
Yes,
I'm not a renovation guy. But in new construction, I already know the answer to this question, but from your perspective, what are people buying? What are people putting in their homes?
Well, this is a bit of the evolution since I even started. So in 2004, I remember one of the first builders I worked with was building kind of track houses. Mm-hmm. The flooring budgets installed, tax included, was like $5,000. I think some were even less, and that was all carpet and vinyl.
Right. No
tile, no hardwood.
No hardwood staircases.
Which
you guys don't do, but even
carpet on the stairs. Was and then we've seen such a shift towards now almost every house has a custom tiled shower.
Right. At least one.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So much hardwood and tile. I would say our average new home flooring package since I started has gone up 3 or 4 times.
Right. That's crazy.
Just based on products, backsplashes.
Now, though, in fairness, the homes have perhaps gotten larger.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
But not 4 times larger, not 3 times
that's
larger,
right.
not even twice as large for that matter. But
the products people want. We don't roll out sheet vinyl and carpet in people's living rooms and kitchens anymore.
Nobody puts carpet in.
No,
I never do carpet.
Less and less carpet. Occasionally, maybe a set of basement stairs in a more of a budget sensitive.
Same thing for us. We would from time to time on some of the more affordable product.
Absolutely.
We might do carpet on the staircase going to the basement.
Something like that. Yeah. You asked about trends now. So what we've also seen is, for years it was solid hardwood. Everybody wanted solid hardwood. We did a lot of solid hardwood. The trend went more towards wider and wider. So in our market, a solid wood in a 4 or 5 inch with the climate, the humidity, the dryness, it's just not the most practical product for splitting, creaking, all of that. So the trend is definitely more towards engineered hardwood. Mm-hmm. It's much more stable, still a real wood surface, much more stable. But even now, over the last couple of years, we're seeing people getting away from wood products and going more towards, higher end waterproof laminate products, even at houses as much as $1 million plus.
Right.
They say, we've had hardwood, we have dogs, children. It's just not practical. We love the look of these products. They're more serviceable. So we definitely see a trend towards some of those higher end waterproof laminates for people's lifestyle.
Yeah, we use them all the time. I mean, it's in every basement of every
That's
home.
right.
$2 million homes.
That's right.
Still laminate in the basement is the go-to for sure.
Sure. Yeah.
But even in the we've had some pretty large homes where we've had laminate wall to wall.
Absolutely.
Main floor. And like you said, especially if they have pets or larger animals or destructive kids.
That's right. That's right. All right. So, one thing I enjoy is our regular lunches where we talk about anything from business to anything at all. We've been doing that for years through COVID, through
sure.
the slowdown in like back in 2000, and we've talked through a lot of things. So, your business has grown. You have lots of irons in the fire, lots of different things you're working on. So when you told me this new idea, I was a little surprised.
Sure.
I'm going to start a podcast. Tell me what's the reason for this?
Okay. The best way I can describe it, and you'll appreciate this. So if it doesn't make sense to you, then it won't make sense to anybody. Okay. So the best way I can describe this is not unlike, as you know, when I first started my adult career from university onward was straight out of university. It was a job as a copier salesman at Xerox for like 6 or 8 months, maybe. Then I sold a home. Sorry, I purchased a home. Amy and I we bought young. We were young. Yeah, we bought a home. We were kids. We were like, I don't know, maybe, I think I was maybe 23 or 23 years old when we bought our first house.
Where was that house?
No, maybe I'm 24 when I bought my first home. Amy was a few years younger than that. So that was in Beachville. I was completely ignorant to anything to do with real estate and or new construction when my wife and I bought our first home. That was a completely new experience. We were there for, again, probably 8 or 9 months. We decided we were going to sell our home in Beachville and we wanted to move to Fall River. We wanted more space. My older brother lived in Fall River at the time. We were familiar with the community enough to know that that's where we wanted to go.
It's a couple of years out. You were in that other house a couple of years?
No, it was probably only a year.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So again, in that process, we list a home for sale and it sells, and we buy a new home again, new construction, different builder, and we move into that home. So throughout that process, I was introduced to the real estate world and the new construction world. And in that process, being a copier salesman, the first thing I thought was, okay, I'm doing the math on how much money I just paid the real estate agent, and I'm doing the math on how much time they probably put into this transaction. And then I'm doing the math on how many copiers I need to sell to add up to that much money. And I came home and told Amy, by the way, I quit my job. I get my real estate license.
Really?
Here we go. All right. So that's how I did that. And I was a realtor for maybe a year or so before I also then moved toward building homes. And there was a crossover period where I was both a realtor and a builder. The building side of things was just supposed to be a hobby. It was just something I found interesting. And I thought, well, it's complementary to the business I'm in of selling homes.
So what? You started, I'll do 1 or 2 a year? Is that
That's what I thought I would do. I should back up. Our third home, I built the home myself, right? So I became a builder. I just said, no, we're not hiring a builder on this one. What I did is there was a real estate or a land developer that I had established a working relationship with. And I decided to buy, it was maybe 8 or 10 lots at the time. So I did a deal. He said, I'll give you a certain period of time. And I said, I'll buy your remaining 8 lots. And one of them I built a home for myself on. And in that process of building the home, I just realized, okay, well, I liked doing that. I did it correctly. I was on budget. And throughout the process, many of the tradespeople and suppliers I dealt with said, you're pretty good at this. So I said, okay, well, then I'll just do it as a bit of a hobby. But it quickly turned into a full-time gig. And then my business shifted away from the real estate side of things and into the new construction side. And I still have a real estate license because it's a tool for which I can use to sell my product if need be. But also it gives me access to things that you don't get access to without having a real estate license. Okay. That's probably a discussion for another day. But
So at what point did you incorporate to be Stonewater Homes?
2006.
And that was at that time when you bought the lots, or was that right away?
Yeah, that would have been, I bought one lot from the land developer that I knew, built a home for myself, and then bought the remaining 8 or 10, immediately thereafter. It would have been soon after establishing the company, right?
Okay.
Established the company, did a deal to buy a few lots, started building houses. I didn't build a spec home. And so for anybody that's listening, that a home that was not already pre-sold, I hadn't built a spec home for like the first probably 3 years. Everything was pre-sold. I didn't go into the home building business and start building inventory homes because I didn't have any money. So the homes I built, I had to pre-sell and then build. And for the first probably 3 years, everything was sold. Now there was only a handful being built.
So
I
you
wasn't
list-
building 20 homes all pre-sold, but they were maybe one or two at a time, or three or four.
So you
and then-
listed them as a lot with a plan, or
Yeah, in some
How did
cases,
you
in
market?
some cases, I just met people who had contacted me who were, say, moving to the community. We couldn't find what they wanted to buy, so I said, "Hey, look, we could build it."
okay.
And interestingly enough, I don't ever remember anybody ever asking me how long I had been doing it. Because you kind of dread that conversation. Imagine if you
This is
haven't
my
built any
first
homes.
house.
Yeah, actually, yeah, you're the first one. Right?
Okay, interesting.
But that question never came up until down the road when I had a few years experience, and then I didn't mind answering the question. Oh yeah, I've been doing this for it's been 4 years.
Okay.
So to go back to your question of why the podcast. Well, my approach to it is exactly as it has been for the other businesses I've gone into, which is I look at it as something that I think I will enjoy doing.
Okay.
A part of me thinks I'll be good at it. Nobody's told me otherwise yet. Like nobody who I've brought it up to, and the people whose opinion I would respect the most, like my wife, even yourself, family members, friends. If any of those people said, "Whoa, hold on a sec, don't do that, do not start a podcast. This is going to be a bad move for you. Don't do it. I think it's terrible," then I probably wouldn't have done it. But the people whose opinions I respect the most have been encouraging.
Yeah.
And what's the worst case scenario? Doesn't go anywhere? Here's my analogy of it. This is the part that I think you'll be able to get your head around easier than most people. I look at this podcast venture not as a business idea. I don't expect this to bear fruit financially.
Okay.
This is just something I think will be interesting. For selfishly, I'm interested in doing it. I'm interested in having conversations with interesting people and or interesting conversations with people I just like talking to.
One of the things that popped in my mind when I heard this was, is this going to be a home builder podcast focus?
Yeah.
Or, you and I like, when we get together, we like to talk about golf. We like to talk about politics. We
That's
like
right.
to talk about lots of things.
That's right.
Is where do you see that direction?
I am a builder and a business owner. So of course I will lean on that. And in order for anyone to tune into this podcast, like anything, I'm not making this up. I've done enough research on the podcast side of things to know that if you're a celebrity, they'll tune in because you're a celebrity. But for most folks, you have to be able to provide some value to the person that is listening.
Yeah.
So, and you also need to establish the fact that you're worth listening to, just in general. So to answer your question, certainly there will be plenty of conversation that stems from new home construction and custom homes and business conversation and things that I know, probably even some golf, things that I know. But in an ideal world, the way I would like to see it go is on a completely different tangent as well. So that might be the foundation of how I establish my credibility,
Okay.
that I'm a halfway sensible person in the world. But I'd like the conversation to go to other things. And I think what will happen is the larger your audience and the more you feel like perhaps you have the support of the people listening, that will most likely give you the confidence to branch off into some other things. I mean, if I start this podcast just chirping about my opinion of politics, I'm likely going to lose most people.
Sure.
Right? Because they're going to think, who's this guy? And I'm not an expert on politics. I have an opinion on things, how politics might affect things in my life that I understand, but I'm certainly no political expert. So I'm not going to pretend to be that.
Okay.
But I'd love to have a political expert here, and I'd love for them to fill in the gaps for me and for us
Interesting.
just to have a conversation. Another way to look at it would be what I hope to accomplish by having a podcast. And so there's a couple answers there. First of all, first and foremost, I probably wouldn't have ventured, certainly not to this degree, as you look around with cameras and lights and mics and building a studio and so on. I wouldn't have ventured to this magnitude if I didn't also feel that I'm going to be able to use this for sheer business purposes. I believe that if I have these conversations with people like yourself, and we talk flooring, and we talk cabinets, and we talk, I get a mortgage broker in here, and we talk mortgages, and we talk things related to our industry, then of course, I think I can utilize that to make my clients' experience better, because it will provide them with more information before we even start down the road of building their home. They can watch some of this and get a good sense of perhaps how this is going to go and a better understanding of how the flooring process might work. how our process as a builder might work. So there's value there. There's also value just from a sheer promotional perspective. You know, you make these videos and or audio clips and you pump them around a bit and it's exposure. So that also helps. That provides almost a bit of a safety net where I can justify even doing it. Okay. Right. I wanted to take a very professional approach. So I bought the things that you need in order to look and sound as professional as you can, despite your own shortcomings. Hired professional people to help me make it as effective and professional looking as possible. Because I don't know anything about the media side of it.
Sure.
Right? I know nothing about that. I don't pretend to. But no different than anything else in my world. And you know how this works. Especially in the construction business, I don't know everything about construction. I would never say that. I have a pretty good understanding of the big picture and where everybody fits into it.
All of it together.
And if I need more information and specific information, then I will seek out the professionals and say, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Right? Or how do we do this?
Yeah. You know, you've got to a point where your stuff is, you know, you've done very well. Your stuff is running smooth. You can run your business. You know it so well. You can run it on a couple hours a day. Is this just something else to fill that?
Right. So what some guys would do in my situation is your business is moving along well. You have a great staff. You have a good group of tradespeople and suppliers, and you know your business and you're well established and you're 20 years in and you're sort of choosy about perhaps even where you build, which communities you build in, right? So some people would say, well, in that case, I'm going to dial it up a bit. I have this under control. I'm just going to do more of what I'm doing. But I'd like to take some of my available time and do something that interests me that I also think could complement my business, but I just personally am interested in doing it.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool to kind of put yourself out there and do this. You could say, you know what, my kids are getting older now. I'm just going to play more golf. I'm going to travel more, or whatever you wanted to do. But you say, let's do something like this. I think it's awesome, man.
I'm looking forward to it, man. I hope it is well received.
Yeah.
Right. You're right. The part that appeals to me least about this is just putting myself out there.
Yeah.
Right?
See that
physically, you put yourself in a pretty vulnerable position.
Yeah, because you get comments and
that's
you're
right.
always going to.
And as you know, up until now, it's a big leap because I have no social media presence. I look at that. So if I come back to the fact that I have no social media presence, I'm not on Instagram. I have accounts. Don't get me wrong. I have accounts on all these things just because I want to. Yeah, but I'm not on there sharing my life. On
nor am I.
Social media, nor are you. But this is all the way over the other end of the spectrum. Now I'm going to put myself completely out there and have conversations, and people are going to know exactly how I think and feel about things.
Exactly.
But these conversations that we're having are no different than the conversations I would have with that person in real life.
Definitely. I like this way of communicating. Like as salespeople, we talk to people. That's kind of one of our tools. I would prefer, certainly in maybe situations that are a little more difficult, to pick up the phone or meet somebody in person and discuss it rather than text or email. That's just, I like the personal element of it, and that's what this gives you. I like that.
Yeah, it's no different than, like I say, if you run into an issue, which you've probably done this, and you're like, listen, let's get together, or I'll meet you on site, or whatever it is, and let's look each other in the eye and talk this through.
I'm not going to text you something.
No, because in this scenario, you get all of the things that you want. It's a real conversation.
That's right.
So the tone doesn't get lost. You get a chance to say something but let me explain.
Exactly.
You can't do that in
That's right.
short form. You can't do that in a text. You can't do it even in an email.
Yep.
Tone gets lost and it doesn't work.
And I think, this is just a general comment, the younger generations might not agree with us there. They tend to want to do everything through text. And I think, in certain situations, it's not as valuable as the conversation.
Absolutely. And I think also the other thing that we run into is if you have a situation that there would be very few situations that I run into in my life. And we've already talked about the fact that nothing ever really goes according to plan.
Yep.
We're constantly trying to solve problems.
Yep.
But there are very few. I don't know if I could even think of a scenario of anything that comes to mind, any problems that come to mind that we run into that you couldn't talk through with somebody.
Yes.
Right?
Yep, that's right.
There could be a scenario where something was damaged or something was broken or something has to be repaired. So the fix there is physical work. But when it comes to a disagreement or folks just butting heads or it seems like there's a huge misunderstanding, 99% of all that stuff, if you were to sit with the person and talk it through,
You'd work it out.
you'll settle it.
Yeah.
You'll settle the problem.
You said something else earlier that I agree with, and sometimes I actually welcome it. Like you said, I have very close friends that we would fundamentally disagree on various things.
Sure.
And we can have conversations that may even get heated at times, but at the end of the day, we're still just as good of friends. We just agree to disagree. You and I wouldn't have that. I think for the most part, there's very
not
little
much
we've ever
on.
disagreed
No.
on, but I think that's actually healthy. Sure. I think having friends that you can be you're open with, and then that's, you agree to disagree, even if it does get heated by times.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to.
I think it's
you don't
healthy.
have to get along with everybody in your life. You don't have to agree with everybody in life.
That's right.
But you can still respect their opinion, and
You can learn from their opinion.
Yes,
too.
you can learn from. But also, I think at the end of the day, everyone is entitled to their opinion, even if their opinion, quite frankly, is just wrong. I mean, it can be wrong. The reality is, people can just have incorrect information.
Yeah.
They're misinformed, and their opinion is just uneducated
Sure.
and just wrong. But unless they are trying to force that opinion on you, or unless they're trying to take their opinion and have it affect your life, then who cares?
That's right.
Have your own opinion. Yeah. But if your opinion is going to cost me money, then hold on a sec. Or if my opinion is going to somehow infringe on your life, then I would expect you to push back and say, I don't agree with your opinion. And I think that's rare. I think even in the issues that are facing us as a society, far beyond the reach of my world, if we really sat down, if the people that were in the position to make decisions and explain things and have the conversation with the people listening, if they really had the conversation and they put all the information out there and people were properly informed, then as a civilization, we would make better decisions. Yeah. The irony is now we live in a world where we have all of the information. It's not like back in the 80s, pre-internet, when all you knew was what you could find in the encyclopedia if you had that letter in your house.
Newspaper.
Yeah. The newspaper, right? Yeah. But there wasn't much researching anything. Yeah, yeah. But now you can research anything you want to know more about. You could research it. And if you truly want to know more about it and you research the professionals and industry members and people that know that, then you could inform yourself and you could make an informed decision. Yeah. And I think if everyone were properly informed, we would have far less of the problems that we have in the world. I think the biggest part of the problem is that the information that's being given to us is just, like you said, it has an agenda, it has a narrative. And when you start talking like this, you lose some people. Like, oh God, here comes the tinfoil hat. Right? But I'm saying, well then, prove me wrong. Yeah. Show me the other side of that argument. Show me how the media that many people rely on is giving you the whole truth and nothing but the truth, right?
Sure.
So yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. Cool. That's the goal. Yeah. Hopefully it works.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Derek, let's leave it at this. We should wrap it up, so people know we're coming to an end. So we want to try to look like we somewhat know what we're doing here. I really appreciate you doing this. I know it's you're putting yourself in an uncomfortable position, and it's not like I can really offer you any help because we're both doing this for the first time.
Sure.
In an ideal world, it's well received, and you like it, and I like it, and then hopefully you come back, and then we can start maybe venturing off into some of these conversations that are just conversations.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, I appreciate and I feel honored you had asked me to come on as your first guest. By the sounds of things, you're going to have much more interesting guests than a flooring salesman.
Maybe not. Well, maybe if we're only talking about flooring, but if we get into some other stuff,
I can maybe be a little more interesting. Yeah, absolutely. But no, I would gladly come back and do this with you again. I appreciate the opportunity, and it was fun.
Okay, good. Yeah. Appreciate it.
All good.
Thanks, man.